If you've watched any videos on this channel or ever seen me in real life with what is almost an exclusively superhero t-shirt wardrobe, you can probably tell I like comic books.
Oh, are you kidding me?
Pick your jaws up off the floor, people, because it's the truth. I've loved comics my whole life, but recently, something special happened. I fell back in love with the franchise I haven't followed too closely since my early teens. Writer Jonathan Hickman, artist Pepe Larraz, R.B. Silva, Marty Gracia, and designer Tom Muller have set the comic book world on fire with House of X and Powers of X, two 6-issue miniseries that serve as the beginning of Hickman's hopefully never-ending run with these characters. Tired of living in the shadows and being persecuted by the world, mutants are standing up and carving out a safe space for themselves with the nation of Krakoa. Both series have slightly different focuses. House of X primarily covers the establishment of Krakoa in the present, while Powers of X follows the intricate timelines that Hickman has laid out, jumping back and forth between the past and far future to symbolize that mutants are one of the universe's most foundational groups. The premise gives readers a lot to think about, but it's really the creative team's ability to imbue each page and panel with a vibrant, urgent energy that makes the book so addictive. Ultimately, this video isn't about breaking down complex themes and connecting everything back to the franchise's extensive history. Instead, I'm going to discuss how these twin series reignited my love for the X-Men franchise in general, from the dominatrix and queen of my heart Emma Frost, to the Summers brothers and everyone in between. Right away, Hickman establishes a mysterious tension that permeates the whole narrative. No matter how much enjoyable material is included in House of X 1, from Magneto declaring the world has new gods, to Jean showing a group of young mutants their new home, it's hard not to close the book and reflect on the shocking image from the opening pages. Xavier standing over a group of goopy pod babies and uttering the classic phrase, "To me, my X-Men." As the series unfolds, giving fans entertaining, head-scratching moments like Wolverine serving on an Apocalypse-led X squad, or Emma Frost literally topping an entire courtroom, the sense of dread Hickman established at the very beginning never disappears. Even from a visual perspective, Xavier, the man most prominently associated with the X-Men and mutant causes around the world, comes across as sinister, keeping his face obscured from readers and fellow mutants as he invites them to trust and join in his nation-building crusade. Regardless of how exciting or celebratory things feel near the end of the story, the ominous feeling that something is wrong constantly hangs above everything. Part of what made the Hoxpox saga so captivating live was its weekly schedule. There have been a number of weekly comics in recent years, but this is likely the most effective use of the form since DC's 52. As the story continuously grew more complex with each passing issue, the weekly rhythm helped all of the mysteries unfold at an organic pace. Rather than reading an issue and waiting a month for the follow-up, potentially forgetting key details in the meantime, the release schedule enabled Hickman to keep readers fully immersed in and focused on the mutant mayhem, despite all of the other comic books coming out. Similarly, Tom Muller's excellent infographic work enables readers to absorb large pieces of expository information without forcing filler into the core story. Having a character stand around and list all of the locations on Krakoa would be pretty tedious, but including a map and a blurb about each space helps readers feel more absorbed in the world and breaks up the traditional rhythm of reading a comic, making each issue feel more like a unique experience. Through rapid information bursts or obscuring certain facts from readers, Muller's diagrams helped Hickman unravel his sprawling story at exactly the right pace. It's House of X 2, the quarter mark in the overall narrative, that finally reveals the hidden mechanism behind everything. Classic character Moira McTaggart is actually a mutant who has self-reincarnated multiple times and retained every hard-fought lesson from her 9 distinct lives. Through the exploration of several dark, desperate paths, from teaming up with Apocalypse to single-handedly hunting down the Sentinel-building Trask family, fans can see how terribly most options turn out for her and mutant kind, making Krakoa feel like a triumphant inevitability, the last step in a painstaking journey. As a history and politics nerd, I found the story's careful approach to nation building and the power of nationalism incredibly engaging. Instead of fixating on standard action, which there is plenty of in the 12-issue narrative, diplomatic practices, trade negotiations, and government protocols all come into play, allowing the readers to see the mutant community as much more than just a group of superheroes in matching costumes. The story feels incredibly relevant as nationalism is on the rise globally. There's nothing inherently ominous about Krakoa being established, but seeing the raw mutant pride, and knowing how easily nationalistic fervor can be turned towards militarism or any number of unsettling things in the real world, creates a dark cloud around some of the book's most patriotic moments. Longtime readers know that Krakoa isn't the first mutant nation, and that some characters may not want to try something so risky and attention-seeking again. During Grant Morrison's run on New X-Men, Genosha was wiped off the map, and 16 million mutants were murdered, sending the species in a downward struggle for survival in a world that feared and disrespected them. The entire Krakoan experiment can and should be seen as Moira, Magneto, and Xavier's attempt to recreate a shared feeling of mutant pride, to give everyone a sense of community and belonging, despite all of the devastating setbacks they've faced and will continue to face in the future. Through a shared language, shared myths, and exclusive border, Krakoa is designed to make mutants feel like they belong there, not just with each other. Part of why the sense of nationalism, or maybe I should just say mutant Zionism at this point, seems so strong in the story isn't just because these characters feel like they belong together. They specifically feel like they belong on Krakoa together. More than just a lush environment, Krakoa is a place where mutants from all walks of life can settle into a new, peaceful existence with others just like them. A promised land of sorts, Krakoa allows dejected mutants from hateful families or bigoted countries to fantasize and think about a better life. Something that gives mutants around the globe, not just the ones who already consider themselves Krakoan citizens, hope for a peaceful future. While not everyone is as optimistic, a sense of joy radiates off most mutants, illustrating just how important this new nation is for their mental and physical well-being in a hateful world. Instead of feeling like a retread of old concepts, this new saga has a storytelling purpose that is clearly derived from the franchise's past. Rather than fall into the same defensive posturing that ultimately led to Genosha's downfall, Xavier and co. strive to create a thriving society on Krakoa, one that will hopefully erase feelings of collective mutant heartbreak from their past. Not only does the new nation give people room to think about what they want to accomplish for themselves and other mutants, but the wonky resurrection technique introduced in the series symbolizes a resurgent hope for the once dwindling species. Each lost mutant represents a loss of potential, and by aiming to bring back all of Genosha's 16 million lost souls, Xavier is essentially trying to infuse a sense of unlimited potential back into the fragile community. Mostly out of necessity, mutants used to preoccupy themselves with survival, but now they're free to develop a true culture, one where science and the arts are valued just as highly as donning a uniform and joining the X-Men. With 50 plus years of history, the X-Men are one of the most unique, diverse cast of characters in comics. And when I say diverse, I'm not just talking about people with different ethnicities. I'm talking about people from different galaxies, alternate timelines, and different schools of thought, all coming together to fight for mutant ideals. While Hickman clearly focuses on key figures throughout the narrative, and sets up others to be more consequential in the future, he incorporates dozens of classic characters in minor ways that make this expansive, somewhat unrecognizable setting feel more lived in and familiar. Even small panels that seem like inconsequential cameos remind readers that anything is possible in this new world, and that every mutant has a role, from developing new technology to serving on the Quiet Council, to ensure Krakoa thrives. It's clear Hickman doesn't want to waste any time, because he cuts right to a character's core whenever they appear. The first time fans see Cyclops, one of the original X-Men and the official Captain Commander of Krakoa's forces, interact with Xavier and Magneto, it feels like full-on fan service. A dedicated soldier, Scott doesn't flinch when he's asked to perform a difficult mission. He simply asks if it needs doing, and immediately accepts without selecting a team. The scene could have definitely come across as corny, but the way the artist frames Cyclops as a swoon-inducing leader, one who's literally draped in light as he accepts his holy mission, reinforces the notion that Scott is Xavier's sacred warrior. Without even showing him throw a punch, the art presents Cyclops as a smooth leader, and if you remove the dialogue from his first 2 scenes, his tight jaw and relaxed body language perfectly embody his confident personality. Thanks to his thorough understanding of each character, Hickman has no problem depicting the X-Men the way they're meant to be, a group of horny individuals. Every iteration of the X-Men has a soap opera-y feel, but there's something about Krakoa that just feels like a mutant summer camp full of raging hormones. There's light sexual tension throughout the story, but things come to a head in House of X number 6 as the mutants party and celebrate Krakoa's formal establishment. Everything from open marriages to psychic orgasms are briefly hinted at, but the underlying theme and emotion here is that all of these characters, even individuals who have some serious beef with one another, are open to new beginnings and feel at home with one another. It'd be wrong if I didn't mention just how much X Twitter actively enhanced my live reading of the series in every way. For 12 glorious weeks, the hashtag #XSpoilers became one of the most dominant things on the website each Wednesday, with everyone posting their thoughts and theories about the newest issue. Everyone stands another character, and seeing their love, or engaging with certain people in horny, mutant-themed banter, only made me want to fall deeper and deeper into this world. I know eager fans will still tweet their love for the books and keep the hashtag alive well into the future, but there was something so chaotic and wonderful about X Twitter for those 12 weeks that I wonder if any other online experience can ever feel that lovely and wholesome. Since so many of Hickman's Avengers-related ideas ended up influencing the MCU, I'm sure Marvel honcho Kevin Feige and his team are already mining the new X books for material to include in future movies. As exciting as it may be to one day see characters like Storm or Mr. Sinister on the big screen alongside Black Panther and Loki, true X fans have already been given the best gift of all, a resurgent comic line that feels worthy of the franchise's limitless potential. No matter how much praise I've heaped onto the 2 series, it's crazy to think all of this is just the opening chapter in a much larger narrative. The prophesized dawn of X is upon us, people, and I haven't been this excited for a line of books in, well, possibly ever. With Moira's influence on the X timeline finally unveiled, decades worth of stories are up for re-examination, becoming exciting things to discover instead of heavy baggage on an old franchise. I know there's a long, weighty history tied to the X-Men, but these 2 miniseries are an amazing jumping on point to this wacky, complex corner of the Marvel Universe. At this point, there's really only one thing left to say.
I've fallen,
In love with the X-Men.
and I can't get up.
We're sending help immediately, Mrs. Fletcher.